Good day to you, my friends. It's Red here, and today I'm going to be reading some r/entitled people because I just feel like I need to be a little bit irritated today, and entitled people are very irritating. So let's get into these stories. I'm 17 and my 38-year-old mother thinks she's entitled to my salary and spends it all on designer items. My parents have never given me an allowance for anything, so without asking them, I got a part-time job after school at a restaurant where I earned $5 an hour. I worked for 2 hours every day after school from 5:45 to 8 p.m. They knew I'd gotten a job, but they didn't say much of anything. My mum asked me a few questions and would be curious to learn more, but that was it. After a few months, I'd saved up around $800, which is a lot for me, and I was planning to continue my saving until my mum asked me how much I had earned, and asked me to let her save it in her account as it would be safer. I said okay. Afterwards, I saw her buy a few designer items and asked her if she'd spent my money, to which she replied, "I've spent thousands on you raising you, so what if I spent your money? Just earn it back again." I started bawling my eyes out, not out of sadness, but pure frustration that my hard work and hard-earned money has now been washed away because of my mum. She feels entitled to my money and my dad didn't say anything to her about it. She refuses to return it and thinks I'm acting like a brat, and told me if I continue this way, she's going to ground me and take away all my devices. WTF? I currently have around $80 in Bitcoin and I'm going to start saving again, but without my entitled mum knowing. However, I'm so extremely upset because I have to start from the beginning again. FYI, my family isn't rich, so $800 is a lot of money to us, and there is no way she will ever return it to me for anyone that's optimistic enough to think that my mum's the kind to save it for me. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone except for myself. I can't wait to get out of this house at 18. Holy crap. I really can't stand people like this. It's your job as a parent to provide for your child. It's not your child's job to provide for you. If you didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on somebody, you shouldn't have had children. Okay, here is story number 2. A brainless bridesmaid meets an unmovable force. My mother. Some quick background. My baby brother was born terminally ill, and the long hospital stays and expensive meds kicked in around 6 months old. To cope with the huge medical bills, Mum worked some odd jobs over the years, including making custom wedding and bridesmaid gowns. My mum had a few die-hard rules. Number 1, she did all of your measurements. I heard the lecture of vanity fibbing only results in a poorly fitted dress more times than I can count. Number 2, all final fittings must be completed at least 3 weeks before the wedding. That way, if Dewey, my brother, had an emergency hospital stay, she'd have time to arrange for someone to sit with him while she went home to finish a job. He was non-verbal and needed a constant companion. This particular bride wanted all of her bridesmaids in pastel organza dresses. Organza is a gauzy fabric. The base dresses were white, covered with these colours. Unfortunately, the bride had more bridesmaids than pastel shades the fabric came in, meaning one lucky bridesmaid wore tan. The bride refused to start a fight by assigning colours, so it was first come, first served. When you came for measurements, you got to pick from the remaining colours. One bridesmaid lived 3 hours away and flat out refused to come to town to be measured. She insisted that telling us she was a size 8 was good enough. Bridal sizes are very different and didn't cleanly convert, so that meant nothing. My mum finally reached the compromise that a local seamstress could measure her and send the measurements. 1 month before this wedding, Dewey was admitted into the ICU to be placed on a ventilator. Mum now had to find coverage enough to get 8 dresses finished off in the next 2 or so weeks. She had pulled it off thanks to amazing friends, but it was tight. Dad was busy working overtime to pay the bills and dealing with us other 2 kids. Well, this horrible bridesmaid still refused to have a final fitting more than 2 days before the wedding. She didn't want to waste the trip just because you're a horrible seamstress who didn't understand proper sizing. I was cleaning up seed pearls during that lovely conversation. My mum begged a friend to sit with Dewey for an entire day so she could do the fitting and adjustments all at once. The bridesmaid was 2 hours late. When she arrived, she saw the hideous tan dress and began literally screaming about how it wasn't fair and my mum must have picked that colour. She demanded another bridesmaid return their dress and both dresses get swapped colours. It would have been 20 plus hours of work, so mum laughed and told her that was a big no. The bride arrived and told her friend that colour was the only option left and she was sorry, but it was that or drop out of the wedding and pay for the dress anyways. The bridesmaid finally agreed to put it on. Yeah, she lied about her size. When the zipper didn't go all the way up, Mum whipped out the measuring tape only to discover this horrible woman had shaved 1 to 2 inches off every measurement except height. Her defense was that she wasn't going to let a jealous seamstress lie about her, so she fixed the numbers before passing them on. Oh my god. By this point, my mum was all but breathing fire. Her son's life hung in the balance, and this lunatic was making her life hell. My mum demanded double for the dress because she was going to have to add strips to the base white dress to make it big enough, and then make a whole new overdress from organza. It was doubling the time and adding substantially to fabric costs. The horrible bridesmaid fought over it, and my mum finally told her, "Fine, pay me the agreed upon amount and take your dress as is." Now, the bride herself was bullying the bridesmaid into just paying up. She finally agreed to it, and my mum told the bride to get the bridesmaid out of her house. They could come back in 5 hours to get the dress. Thankfully, the read-on dress was a perfect fit. The horrible bridesmaid paid the remaining balance and left after that. The day my brother died, my mum refused to ever make another wedding dress. She's only made one in the 21 years since as a favour to a friend who spent that ill-fated day with Dewey in the ICU while my mum fought with that horrible bridesmaid. You know, this is such a contrast to the last story where the mother was so entitled. This mother is literally doing everything she can for her child. And, you know, that's what you should do as a parent. Okay, here is our next story. 2 women talk about a girl in the elevator without knowing she can understand them. My mum told me this story a few years ago about her friend, and I just remembered it now. My mum's friend lives in the US but is originally from Israel, and so her first language is Hebrew, but she can speak English. At the time this story happened, she was big, and she was living in an apartment building. She went to the elevator and in came 2 girls. They started chatting in Hebrew. They started talking about her and calling her a cow since they didn't know she also spoke Hebrew. And as she got out of the elevator, just 1 second before the doors closed, she said, "Moo." And just as the doors closed, she saw their faces turn pale. I hope those r/entitled people stories gave you some entertainment. If you feel very irritated by them, as I do, I suggest you check out one of my other videos so you can have a good laugh. Also, don't forget to like this video before you go and subscribe to my channel as well if you haven't already. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you. Have a good day and stay out of the way of those entitled people.